This video will contain spoilers for Deltarune chapters 3 and 4. You have been warned. Well, I'm reading a book. Why am I reading a book? I don't know. Throw that on the ground. Hey guys! Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing FakeyMcFake's Q&A special. Woo woo! Why is nobody clapping? What the fuck? But anyway, this is a Q&A to help celebrate the channel's growth over these past couple of months, which has been absolutely crazy. I mean, now we're at 4,000 subscribers. Like, holy, you guys are awesome. As well as I've released 100 videos on the channel. Some of those are live streams, so I don't know if those count. But hey, we're celebrating it anyway. And if you couldn't tell already, this video is going to be completely off script. Coming straight from the mind, straight from the FakeyMcFake brain. And this video probably won't be like super highly edited or whatever, but I'll still try to make it at least somewhat entertaining. But feel free to just sit back, relax, eat some popcorn and some tacos as I answer your guys' questions. I'm gonna try to see if I can get this out before Deltarune's release, because most of these questions are related to Deltarune. So if it's after Deltarune's release, this was all recorded before, so that's why you get the answers I get. Hey, and it's me, future editing FakeyMcFake here. And since, you know, Deltarune has already released, some of my answers might have changed for some of these questions. So I'm gonna be chiming in whenever that happens. So you'll be seeing me a lot. All right, so this question comes from Jack. Ignoring limitations from a game design perspective, what possible lighteners would you be excited for the most to end up in a Dark World, party members or otherwise? So for not counting the confirmed lighteners that we know 100% will be there, like Toriel and now Jockington, I guess for some reason. Jockington never appeared in the Dark World. I cry. I'm honestly really excited to see Caddy go into a Dark World. There seems to be a lot of evidence that Caddy will probably join us in a Dark World, and I think it's setting up a similar sort of story beat as like Noelle and Birdly in chapter 2. So although I don't think like Caddy will have as big of a role in Deltarune as like Noelle does, I think we could get some possible insight into her backstory and her character that we didn't really get in the first 2 chapters that could possibly make her a fan favorite. Other than that, I think it'd be cool to have Mettaton join the Dark World. I don't know, I just feel like a Dark World design for Mettaton would be fun. As well as like maybe Mad Dummy. I think that would also be fun. Bring back the Mew Mew fight. That'd be funny. And I want Alvin to be in a Dark World too. I think that'd be fun. I think Alvin's an interesting character. I want to see what he has going on, and like his whole backstory with Gerson seems sort of important, so I want more insight onto that. And the church just seems like a perfect place for him to be, so if he was going to be in a Dark World, I think he'll be in that Dark World. If he's not in that Dark World, then we probably won't get him in one, which is kind of sad, so we'll find out in like a week or whatever.
Alvin wasn't in the church Dark World, but we did get Gerson, so we're honestly winning. We're still winning.
And of course, I want to see freaking Azrael in a Dark World. I think that's pretty much a given. I don't think too many people have talked about this, but like, I'm pretty sure it's a fact that Azrael will fall into a Dark World once he gets home from college, you know? And that could definitely lead to some interesting character interactions between Chris, Susie, Azrael, and Rouse, ? That'd be really fun. So those are my picks for lighteners inside of Dark Worlds. What's your least favorite character in Deltarune chapter 1 and 2 so far? Why do you consider them so? And this question is from the red guy Lamau. So I want to preface, I don't hate like any characters in Deltarune or Undertale. Toby has a really strong character writing prowess and is able to create very intriguing and fun characters. So I would say at worst, like a Deltarune or Undertale character is like decent or whatever, not really like bad. However, characters that I've sort of grown less and less fondly of as I kept playing the game over and over again of Deltarune would have to be Sweet Cap'n and KK. I'm just lumping them all in as one character because that's what they originally were going to be, is just one character, which honestly should have kind of been what they were. They should have just been like one character, but I get that you need to introduce like the S action and the R action, so you had to fight 3 characters at once. But another reason why I don't like them as much as other characters is just because their songs blow up so much with the OST, and it's like every song is just like the exact same basically. So you have like 5 or like 6 different songs that are like the same melody, and it's like, bruh, you know? And like I said, I didn't like feel about this way at first, but it's only replaying Deltarune like over and over and over again during these past years, just constantly hearing the same thing over and over again. It's like, so I'm like, that's my pick, and I don't hate them. I still think they're fun, and I think they have a purpose, but like, you know, those songs though. How many hours does it take you to edit and record a video? This is from the Pasty Boy. So Obviously, it depends on the video that I'm editing / recording and whether or not the video has a script or doesn't have a script. Like, for example, this video will be faster to edit than any of my scripted videos that I've done because it simply does not have a script and it won't take as much time to sort of, write that all out. But if we're just talking about editing and recording process, like I said, it depends on the size of the video. Obviously, that like really long Deltarune video that I did took me like 3 months. I would say like the first month was actually like scripting and the other 2 months was purely recording and editing. Recording didn't take that long. It took like a day. Editing took a while though. And that seems to be the longest process for me with these videos is the editing. You could probably tell why, because I try to put, more effort into editing. But obviously for like really long videos like that, I have to cut some corners. Like, I had to use those stills for the sort of theory Sona that I did, just to make the editing easier and use footage of Deltarune. And, I can't have it completely be just like images moving around all the time constantly. That would just be way too much. That would take me probably like a year to do. But yeah. Recording definitely the shortest process, editing the longest process. Editing could take somewhere up to a week, 2 weeks, to a couple of months. So there you go. So this question comes from an anonymous user. Is Undertale or Deltarune better? And I also got a very similar question from Hector147. Do you like more Undertale or Deltarune? I've always had this opinion ever since like chapter 2 released and we got all the theories and stuff, but I definitely prefer Deltarune over Undertale. Undertale is still one of my favorite games of all time, but Deltarune and what it offers just speaks to me more as a person, and the community discourse and discussion and theorizing and all the debates and all that stuff has only enhanced the experience of Deltarune for me. I definitely replayed Deltarune way more times than I've replayed Undertale, and Deltarune has definitely inspired a lot of my own creative works, not just videos, but like, I run D&D campaigns on the side sometimes, so I definitely take a lot of inspiration from Deltarune characters in creation of these NPCs and enemies and bosses, which, the players seem to enjoy. So obviously something's going right there. Deltarune definitely got some good character writing to be able to inspire that. But yeah, I would think Deltarune for me is better than Undertale. Both good games, really good games, but Deltarune just speaks to me more. What is your favorite JRPG trope? And this question's from Blocks. So I'm a big fan of the Persona games, and I played a lot of JRPGs before. I played, Xenoblade. You ever heard of Xenoblade? And I've dabbled in some Fire Emblem, But I guess a JRPG trope that I really like is just fighting a god at the end of the game. I think that is really like cool, and this might sound a little bit cringy, but like hype shit and aura, it's so epic. Like going toe to toe with a god, it just like creates the hypest moments of all time, and I'm always a fan of that. And the music, if you got good music accompanying it too, oh my god, that could be peak gaming right there. So that's my favorite JRPG trope. Something that I think Deltarune will definitely follow suit in. Wink wink, angel wink.
Do we count the Titans as gods? Do we? Or do we not? Because if so, then we already fought a god in Deltarune.
What is your personal favorite Deltarune theory that you either heard or created? And this is from Larry Bobkin. So if we're going favorite theory that I've heard, I'd probably have to say Kemi Boy G's 7 Nights theory. I think that just sort of hits it right on the nail of what is going on in Deltarune, and I personally just vibe with it a lot. Having different nights for each chapter just brings up to new storytelling possibilities and opportunities, I feel like. Definitely fits in with the themes as well. Everyone in Hometown seems to be wanting to escape, and also just has a lot of good evidence backing it up. There's so many mention of knights not relating to one specific person, and the whole like debate of who the knight is sort of seems to be leaning in that direction because there's supposed to be more than one knight.
So it's basically kind of been confirmed that we're not going to be following this theory. We're not going to be having 7 knights. Do you count Chris as a knight? Because if you do, then we have like 2, which means that, there is more than one knight, technically speaking, if you count Chris. But yeah, no, I still really like this theory though, and I thought it has really good themes, and, like I keep saying, I think it would make a really good story. Take that Cammy or whoever and put that into a story and make a interesting story out of it.
But personal theory that I've created and has really grown on me the more and more I've listened to that one really long Deltarune video is the Layers of Darkness theory that I made. I don't know if it's like been done by someone before and maybe I just like took took pieces of that and like, I was like, oh, this is my theory. But I really fuck with that theory. I think it's like really, really compelling. And yes, I'm a little bit biased because I created it, but yeah, I just think it's really compelling with Gaster sort of going into like a deeper layer of darkness in a dark world, and that's sort of how he's able to connect with us in nonfiction, because he's just so deep in the fiction that it transfers over somewhat to nonfiction, is why he can interact with Twitter and all that stuff, and explains why he got shattered across time and space, because obviously if you keep going deeper in the darkness, the items, objects, and eventually the people around you will keep getting distorted, and eventually you get shattered across time and space, and that was sort of the creation that he fell into and all that jazz. So I really vibe with that theory. I think it fits a lot of what Deltarune is trying to go for, and hey, you know, chapter 4, you know, we got a different like color scheme for Susie and Chris. Maybe they're going into another layer of darkness. Ooh. All right, so is the layer of darkness theory like not true at all? Yes and no. So creating a dark fountain in another dark fountain to get to a deeper layer of darkness, that is wrong. We know that that just creates a titan. But the whole thing of Gaster shattering across time and space because of a deeper layer of darkness, and possibly exploring a deeper layer of darkness through different means than just creating a fountain within a fountain, that could still be possible. But just the means of actually creating a fountain within a fountain, to do that is wrong. Is that completely cope on my end? I don't know. Up to interpretation. But I want to completely rule it out. I don't know. There's still some interesting things in there. What is your favorite video game of all time? Other than Deltarune, of course. And this question was sent in by Ace. What are your top 5 games, not including Deltarune and Undertale? And this question was sent in by JJMO. So, let me just break it down for you, since this kind of ties into what Ace asked. And we got another question very similar to this one that's got asked, but this is from Magic Guy Studios. What are your top 5 favorite video games? So there you go. Let me answer 3 questions now all at once. So why don't I just give you guys my like top 5 video games of all time? Obviously, number 1, well, I don't even know if this is obvious, but number 1 for me, Persona 5. The original Persona 5. That game has just so many good gameplay elements. The style, the pizzazz, the music, the characters, everything about it is just like so peak to me. And has like literally inspired like everything that I do, like creatively. Like there will always be some aspect of Persona like weaved in within my work. You've probably seen it. I mean, I made Persona videos. My little guy has a mask on it, you know, all that jazz. And I really do love the Persona series in general, but Persona 5 just has to be my favorite. Second, we got Deltarune, obviously. All right, Deltarune is peak. You already know why I think it's peak. It's peak. Probably in 3rd place, I would put Xenoblade Chronicles 3, specifically 3, because I fuck with that game heavy. I've always fucked with the Xenoblade series, but 3 I think is just the peak, the new mechanics they added. I think the core party that they got is like the best party in Xenoblade. Their chemistry and dynamics is just so perfect. And of course, the story, bro. The story is one of the few stories that I've actually cried to a video game too. So I'm like, oh. So it's peak. And hype shit in Aura, of course. For number 4, I'd probably put The World Ends With You on the original DS. You know, it's a little bit of an underground game, but I played the Switch remake and I fell in love with the story. I think the story is like actually like one of the best stories like ever. It's so simple, but at the same time it's just like so compelling and like in depth, and I love it. And the characters are like peak. I love the characters and the art style and the music. Oh so peak. Neo, The World Ends With You is like so close to it. I always debate on whether like which one is better than the other. Neo is also really good. I think that story and the characters are just so peak as well, but the original has that original flair, so I'll put it up there for now. And then my number 5th game that I put is probably a Zero Escape, specifically Virtue Last Reward. I love that series. The original Zero Escape was just like blew my mind in so many ways and made me rethink about like philosophy and different like concepts in our real world and all that stuff. So, and Virtue's Last Reward just kind of like takes it to the next level, and I think the characters and the dynamics and the sort of philosophy that it brings up is more intriguing to me than the original one. But I will admit the Virtue Last Reward sort of 3D models and are kind of rough nowadays. It was on the 3DS and it definitely does not beat the 2D ones, but I feel like the character writing, scenarios, and concepts definitely make up for it. You know what, fuck it, I give you my my top 10. For number 6, we got motherfucking Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I love Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Introduced me to the series. You got Subspace Emissary, which is absolutely peak. How, like, we never got anything like that again, which I believe is such a missed opportunity, because I would have loved to see Joker interact with all the other Smash Bros. Characters. But Brawl is peak, and that music and the vibes and the weird enemies that got introduced in the subspace are just something that will live in my brain rent-free for like my entire life. After that, I'd probably put Sonic Heroes. I love Sonic. Sonic Heroes was like one of my first Sonic games. You're noticing a trend with like these later picks is that they tend to be the first game that I play in the series, but I love Sonic. I think Sonic is like one of the coolest characters ever made. And yes, he has had his Rocky his Rocky games at some point. And I know Sonic Heroes might be one of those games, but I love it. And I love the character interaction, and I love the vibes, the music, the environments, the levels. It's just peak to me. So I love Sonic Heroes. I'm gonna put Danganronpa, specifically Danganronpa 2 next. It used to be like my favorite game when I was like still in high school and I played it for the first time, but like I think over the years I've seen more of its flaws and, you know, have sort of grown out of love a little bit. But hey, it still has shaped me as a person, so you gotta give it a mention, and it definitely is up there to me. So next we got Pizza Tower. I think Pizza Tower is just such a fun game, and it's like the only game that I've like really 100%ed, so that has to show for something. And I think the art, the music, and the characters are just so fun. It's just a good game. It's a good ass game. You know, nice platformer game. I love it. And for the last one, number 10, we put Minecraft. Fuck it. Like, I was gonna put like a Mario game or something, but I don't know which Mario game to choose, so we put Minecraft instead. Minecraft, do I even need to explain it? I've had like a million hours on Minecraft. It is like my childhood. It has like definitely created like so many memories for me in gaming and continues to do so. It deserves a spot on this list at least. But yeah, those are my favorite games of all time, so there you go. Do you actually like Despicable Me? And this question comes from an anonymous user. Okay, the original Despicable Me I like. All right, it's a good movie. It was nice, it was wholesome, had a good message. Gru was like peak character in that movie, you know? I like that movie. The second one, a little bit more dip in quality, or, you know, it's more generic. You know, definitely is more focused on the minions, which is both a good and a bad thing in some cases. And then 3, I didn't even watch 3. I'm being real. I'm a fake fan. 3, I did not watch 3. 4, I did not watch 4. I saw like the Minions movie, and that one was like absolutely mid to me. Like, I can't even remember like most of the stuff that happens. But Gru will always hold a special place in my heart for like obvious reasons, you know? How did you get the name FakeyMcFake? And this question comes from Elk. So this kind of branches off from the previous question, but so Guru has always been a little bit of a meme to me, so that's why Guru is the channel profile picture. But for the actual name of FakeyMcFake, it actually is kind of a funny story, because you know, I've been trying to make YouTube content for a while now, and I've had some previous channels, and this sort of FakeyMcFake channel was always a side shitpost channel. You know, it's where I dump my random memes in videos that I did. It was nothing ever too serious. And then I released a Danganronpa YTP, which is more so of like a Danganronpa on crack video than a YTP, but anyway. And then that video did like really, really well. And then I started like to continue to make those. And then I sort of just continued to make videos on this channel, and then slowly but surely I stopped focusing on every other video project I was working on for other channels, and then only started to do this channel. And then eventually I just put the main videos that I wanted to do onto this channel, and now it's like my main channel. So pretty funny story. Went from a shitpost YouTube channel to now my main channel. So hey, that's what happens. And so to actually answer the question, the name FakeyMcFake was just a random fucking name I came up with because this was a shitpost channel. So what is the most like shitpost name you can come up with is like FakeyMcFake. So there you go. Looking back at your old content, you used to mainly be an anime channel. Did you expect your first Deltarune theory video to do that well compared to the old standard of the channel at the time? Are you happy with the new direction you're heading? And finally, do you hope to talk about other games besides Deltarune / Undertale in the future? Not that we'll drought in Deltarune content soon. And this question comes from Sobri, the professional exister. So thank you for that. And I also got a similar question from Dave's CZ that says, what are your future plans with this channel? Like, you'll be over 4K milestone in no time, so what then? And I also want to say hi, I'm a big fan. I wish you the best of luck for the future. Thank you, Daves. I appreciate that. You know, definitely means a lot that you're a big fan. I appreciate that. So let me answer both questions at once. Did I expect the video to blow up for Deltarune? I'm not gonna totally lie here and be like, no, I had no expectations. I had some slight expectations. I expected it to do well in comparison to my other videos. I was expecting maybe like 10,000 views, but like almost like 100K that we're at like now. No, I did not expect that level. This is because Deltarune content, especially like theorizing and big analysis that are like over an hour long, tend to do well on YouTube. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen like new channels literally prop up and become like, you know, semi-big channels, not like insanely huge, but like semi-big, just because they made a one-time Deltarune video. So I expected something similar to that to me, but obviously not what we actually got, like that sort of dramatic sort of numbers. I was never expecting that amount. And am I happy with the new direction? I think I'm pretty satisfied. I'm honestly okay with making more Deltarune content. You know, Deltarune is like one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm totally fine talking about it constantly. But, you know, as you said, do I hope to talk about other games and maybe other topics in the future? Of course. I don't want this to only be a Deltarune channel, you know, as much as other people in the similar position of me has just completely transitioned to Deltarune and they don't do anything else. I would actually like to talk about other things and other topics. One of the big things for me is that I don't want to become sort of numbed to Deltarune. I don't want to like start hating it more because I've talked about it endlessly, like not to nauseum. And eventually I do want to sort of try to do some other topics, you know, go back to some of the anime stuff, and obviously stuff that's more in line of what maybe Deltarune fans would like and stuff that I like too. I have some ideas for that, and it doesn't even have to just be video games, so maybe some sort of like, you know, some internet fascinations over the past years. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of new Deltarune content that's coming out, so we're probably gonna be getting Deltarune content on the channel for a while now. I don't think I'll have too much time to be working on other stuff when all this new stuff for Deltarune's coming out. But hey, I'm okay with that because, like I said, I love Deltarune. So
future FakeyMcFake here, just going more on what I was sort of talking about here. But another thing I wanted to mention was that I would also like to do some collabs. I've never really done a like YouTube collab before. I'm not gonna lie, that's a completely like new territory for me, but I'd be down. Yeah, and obviously for big milestones, you know, that we hit on the channel, like, you know, maybe a 10K subscriber special, meh, wouldn't that be cool, man? This is like a fantasy. I'm not even gonna pretend this is ever gonna happen, but like a 50K? Oh my god. Nah, I'm dreaming.
So this question's from Dr. Sushi. What's your favorite food? Mine is Swedish meatballs. Very interesting, Dr. Sushi. If I had to answer, I unironically would have to say tacos. It is definitely the most food that I eat constantly, like basically every week, and I never grow tired of it, and I always crave more. So probably tacos, specifically those like Doritos tacos, you know, like they have like the Doritos chips as the shell. That type of taco, yeah. And they're homemade, yeah. Yeah, I eat that up all the time. This question comes from an anonymous user. Do you plan on doing a first impressions of Deltarune chapters 3 and 4? Make a video script well or / after playing the chapters? So I did say this on stream, and I guess I'll do that, but I don't know if this video comes before or after, because maybe this video is already out. But anyway, I do plan to record, obviously, my first playthrough of chapters 3 and 4. You know, originally it was just going to be for footage, but, you know, I'll do a little audio sort of commentary as well, and maybe we'll just post a little highlights of all the reactions that I have to both chapters. And then after, I plan to do a more scripted video, sort of covering all the information we got, what it means for the future, that sort of jazz, you know. But that will probably take longer than the reactions video. So, but that's the plan so far.
Chapters 3 and 4 reactions videos are actually already out by the time this video is uploaded. So go check those out if you want to see my reactions.
What chapter of Deltarune are you the most hyped for from 1 through 7? And this question comes from Doshi. So you included 1 through 7. If we're talking right now, obviously 1 through 2, I wouldn't be hyped for 1 through 2 because we already got it. But if we're talking about before those chapters came out, Deltarune 1, I didn't even know that was going to be a thing until it came out. Chapter 2, I was hyped for chapter 2. And chapter 2 definitely delivered on the hype, I'll tell you that. But I think what I'm most hyped for in terms of chapter-wise has to be chapter 7. Like, it's going to be the end. We're going to be able to see the big dream that Toby had, the big fever dream, and we're gonna finally get sort of the answers that we've been craving for a while, and that is hype to me. That is gonna be the real hype, and obviously, of course, we're gonna see the angel, hopefully, most likely. So yeah, I'm most hyped for chapter 7. And I was talking about before about like Deltarune channels, Deltarune's the only thing. After chapter 7 comes out, and after like a good amount of time has passed, we get like no new Deltarune or Undertale content, they might have to transition to other stuff. So, but it's definitely gonna be hype. And we'll get to see that hype eventually. And if it is super hype, those channels that are only dedicated to Deltarune will be able to make content for years to come. So this comes from Victor. Greetings, Fakey. Nice to see you are growing on YouTube so fast. Wish you the best from now forward. So my question is, I saw a very interesting theory that the friend face is a cat, right? Sorry if it's a long message, XD. Well, there's a type of race of cats called bobtail that have different rarities, like Noelle's game, and each is considered to give more fortune and luck. Luck is a very interesting word here because Noelle's game is RNG based, and the one that gives you the most, which would be the most rare cat, the friend cat, like Noelle says, is the most rare cat. She only got it once. That is specifically called Mike. Could we get your opinion on this theory? Could Mike be the cat and be based on the fortune cats from Japan? All right, wow, that was a really long question, but I like it. I vibe with it. So my opinions on this, yeah, I think Toby has definitely taken some inspiration from, you know, sort of Japanese cats of sorts. And those little fortune cats that like Meowth is based off of, you know. But do I really think Mike will be the cat? I don't really think so. I mean, Mike, I don't think is a cat, but Friend being the cat, yes, I can definitely see that. I can see Friend being the cat and like this little fortune cat. I've heard theories that like Friend is sort of like the RNG sort of value of Deltarune. Like it's literally like the meta narrative character that represents the RNG of the game of Deltarune, which is an interesting concept. So I think Friend is definitely more lucky cat focused than Mike. And I think Mike will just be a simple character in chapter 3. Well, maybe not simple, but you know what I mean. They're just going to be a character in chapter 3. I don't think they're going to be like a whole meta-narrative thing like how Friend is going to be like.
All right, so Friend is confirmed not to be Mike. Kind of. I mean, the Shadow Guy's like costume of Mike has the Friend eyes. I don't even know what to think of this. I don't know what's going on anymore, Toby. Like, what is happening with Friend? Friend appears like everywhere. Friend is in like the Shadow Mantle boss fight. Friend is the creature that Rousey explains with the Dark Worlds. I think I've also heard that Friend just appears again. I think somewhere in chapter 4 too. I forget where, but like, what is going on with Friend? Does this confirm the RNG thing? I don't know. But Mike might not be Friend. I don't think so, because the real Mike is a microphone. So
when and what was your first interaction for something related to Deltarune? It's fun to know how people got into the game. Smiley face. This is from the Tillin Destroyer 88. So I've told a little bit of the story on stream, but let me give you the full picture, okay? So I was in a hotel room with my family and everyone was to bed. It was like past midnight. I was still up sort of on my phone, and what do I get? A little notification that Toby Fox just released a new game, ? And you know, being a gamer, I had my gamer laptop on me. So what I did is I went to that little like nightstand in a hotel room that you'd find. I'd opened up the laptop, plugged it in, and I went online and I was like, ooh, survey program. And then I downloaded it. I didn't even know what was happening. Like, I got that little message that was like, do you accept the conditions or whatever? I didn't even realize that this is supposed to be like a meta narrative thing. I was just like, oh, my computer's like thinks this might be a virus or something. I don't know, kind of weird. Okay. And then I played it. And yeah, I played Deltarune Chapter 1 that entire night, and I felt completely in love with it. I was like, whoa, this shit is actually kind of amazing. And it was like, you know, the day after Halloween or whatever, or like on Halloween. I forget the exact day that Chapter 1 came out. But yeah, that is my like one of my core memories that I have as a person. And I will like never forget that like experience of like being in like this small hotel room playing Chapter 1 and being enamored for the first time. OG Star Walker's #2 fan asks, what's your favorite type of pasta? I love mac and cheese, Star Walker fan #2. Trust. All right, I love mac and cheese. So that little elbow pasta with the cheese, with the mac and cheese, mwah, beautiful. Chef's kiss. How important do you feel the gumball machine in the Deltarune.com/secret/column 4 row 3 from Spantha Sweepstakes will be overall to the story of Deltarune? And this question is from guy who has been thinking about image_friend since September 17th, 2021. That gumball machine. I know it's like made up of like different stock images, and it's not just supposed to be like one gumball stock image that Toby found. I don't really know what to make of it though. But I'm gonna be real with you. I could honestly just see it being there as just like a little troll because Toby just wants to see how brain rotted us fans are. I don't know. I feel like some of the stuff that Toby does is specifically just to see how brain rotted we are, just to see how deep we'll dive into the secrets of Deltarune, and it actually like means nothing, or at least like nothing like super lore relevant, because I kind of get that vibe from Toby sometimes. And that might not be the most interesting answer, but hey, I have no idea what's supposed to be, and honestly that's the kind of vibe I get from it.
Yeah, so the gumball machine actually has some pretty significance, at least lore relevant wise. You know, you can enter like Dessa's number, you know, the 1225, you know, Christmas Day, and you get this weird sequence that's obviously relating to Des, where it like transfers you to this weird world, and you get this like blue gumball machine or something. So obviously it is kind of lore relevant, so it's not just a troll on Toby's part. And honestly, I could see the stock images thing just being maybe to avoid copyright, so Toby just like scrambled a bunch of stock images together just to make a unique image that's unique to Deltarune, so he can't get like sued or whatever. Other than that, the gumball machine is just used to get some cool little prizes.
What role do you think Toriel is going to play in Chapter 3 of Deltarune? Me personally, I hope she will be a party member, but that's pretty high hopes. And this is from Som Rat. All right, so might be a little controversial take, but I don't think Tori will be a party member. I do think it would be cool, and I would love to see that, but I don't really think Toby would do that. And I feel like Toriel is supposed to be sort of similar to how like Birdly sort of functions in Chapter 2, where she's just gonna be this like character that like runs around through the dark world and doesn't like stick with us the entire time, you know? Or I can honestly see her being like captured by Tenna, and she's like sort of like the person that we have to rescue in Undyne or in Absolute, or whoever the police officer shows up in. They will be like the character that runs around during the entirety of the chapter. But yeah, I don't think Tori will become a party member or will have like a super major role in Chapter 3, but I do hope that we do get some interactions with her and Rouse and Chris and Susie at some point, because that's just some good character interaction that we just like need more of. So
yep, so Toriel didn't really have a major role in Chapter 3 like at all. She didn't even have a speaking role. That's actually kind of crazy that she didn't have a speaking role. And I'm also surprised that I actually called that should be captured specifically by Tenna. So there you go, we got something right.
What is your favorite overall Toby Fox gag that still makes you laugh when you think about it? For example, the excessive amount of explosion Toby likes to use. And this question comes from Mac. Toby Fox gag. There's so many. But I think one of my personal favorites has to be Rules' God damn it. When the fun gang sort of solves the puzzle again, it's just I laugh at that again. So I think that's a good joke. But there are a lot of jokes that I vibe with for Toby Fox, but that is the one that I love the most, I feel like, and think about the most. So there you go.
So another one of my personal favorite jokes in chapter 3 specifically is the Rules hands a bit, where Rules just has hands on his little like profile icon that like move and interact with what he's doing. It was so funny. I don't know why Rules has like the best jokes in Deltarune, but one of the best bits in the game.
This question comes from Untitled Ham. Are you the knight from hit game Deltarune, the episodic role-playing video game in development by Toby Fox, as a follow-up to his 2015 game Undertale? Let me tell you, Untitled Ham, you're not supposed to ask that question. Nobody's supposed to ask that question. At least, not yet. This question comes from Fourth Monado. What Light World characters do you think / hope will join our party in the Dark World? I think Caddy has a pretty good chance of being a party member. And I kept saying that, but with more and more evidence popping up, yep, I definitely can see it. And her having like some sort of dark magic ability, I can also see, you know, she casts some dark magic on the Darkners or whatever, and maybe that leads to like a different sort of weird route that we get, I don't know. But I don't think that we'll get like a super insane amount of party members in Deltarune. I think maybe like at most, you know, maybe one more after Caddy if we get Caddy, but I don't think so. And honestly, I could see that one last party member being Azrael, funny enough. I think that'd be kind of cool. You know, Azrael comes home, go into a dark world, and Azrael's like, Chris, let's go. And then Rousey's like, Chris, you're replacing me, Chris? And then Rousey turns into the angel.
So Caddy wasn't a party member in chapter 4, which is what I originally sort of predicted in my other video. Not even in this video, but my other video. So does that mean that she's not gonna be a party member at all? I don't know. I still think there's still a chance. I don't know. She just seems kind of important, and there's like a lot of like stuff relevant to her. You know, with Chris and the whole dark magic thing, her on the sweepstakes being mentioned a lot in the new updated stuff. I don't know. It just like makes me think she's gonna have an important role, and she has a talking sprite. Not many characters have a talking sprite, so.
This question comes from an anonymous user. Favorite Undertale and Deltarune characters? Who's your favorite Deltarune / Undertale character? Also, love the theory videos and can't wait for the next one after chapter 3 and 4 releases. And this is from Gabriel. Thank you for the compliment, Gabriel. I appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we'll get more videos after 3 and 4. We'll see how many ideas I got after playing the game for myself. But yeah, I'll lump this in with the other question. So there you go. Deltarune and Undertale favorite characters. All right, let's start with Undertale first. I love Sans. I think Sans is a really good character, you know, besides all the memes, you know, Sans as an actual character and like his experience, his motivations, his personality, definitely top tier. Papyrus, I love Papyrus, of course, too. And I like Asgore. You know, Asgore has sort of like grown on me over the years. You know, at first, I didn't really think he was like really that good compared to like all the other main party characters that we got. But as I think about it more, it's like, damn, you know, Asgore kind of rough, especially in Undertale. Asgore kind of rough, and I think that's really compelling. Like this like gentle giant had to kill for the greater good, and every single day it pains him more and more, but he has a job that he has to do, and when you fight him in the neutral route, he is willing to take that job and is willing to like do what he needs to do, and he gets rid of like the fucking mercy button. That was like crazy, you know, thinking back about that was crazy. So, you know, those are probably my characters for Undertale. You know, I like Undyne and Gaster. Deltarune, I like Susie, I like Rousey, I like Chris, I like Noelle, I like Burley. I like all the Deltarune characters. But if I had to pick like favorites, you know, Noelle. I think Noelle is such an interesting character. I can't wait to see like what she has to bring to the table. I really like Chris. Chris is gonna have like so much like to say about like the meta narrative. Like they're not actually gonna like say it like, you know, with dialogue, but you know, the whole like character introspective and all that stuff, that's gonna be cool. And obviously, the GOAT, Spampton, is like probably my favorite character that Toby Fox has ever created. His whole backstory, you know, his whole motivations, his whole arc, and like the desperation of his all. It just speaks to me on like so many levels, and it's just like a cautious tale of this man that has become nothing but still pushes and strives and clings to what he has left. And it's so amazing. And Spampton just has all the aspects that I love. You know, you got the dark, deep motivation. It ties into the meta narrative, interactions with other characters that sort of enhances their personality, and Spampton can just be goofy as well on all top of that too. So
all right, so you'll see me, the future Fakey, sort of come in again during a later question for Deltarune characters. But what I want to say here is that obviously, yeah, you know, Tenna, you know, the Knight, Gerson, all those people are included for favorites, obviously, nowadays, because with the release of chapters 3 and 4. But quick shout out to my GOAT, my one and only, Shudda. Because Shudda, even though it might not be like a top 10 character for me, Shudda, I don't know, I just really vibe with the design. I fuck with it. I don't know what to tell you. I vibe with it. People think I'm weird. I like Shudda like a lot for some reason. I don't know. It's just really cool.
Oh la la! How big of a role do you think the characters originating from Undertale will play? And this question's from MB. So I kind of explained this in my big Deltarune video, but I don't think the Undertale characters will have such a big role to play. Obviously, they do have like some importance to the story. You know, Toriel and Asgore are literally the parents of Chris. I think that will definitely play a role. But like huge roles like, you know, them being creators of Dark Fountains, or them continuing to be involved with the creation of Dark Fountains and entering Dark Fountains, like Toriel like being in like multiple Dark Fountains, or like Toriel or Asgore being like party members and stuff like that, I really just do not see. But that's not for like every Undertale character. For the ones that are like more minor in Undertale, like ones that didn't get too many screen time, I feel like will have sort of a bigger role than they did in Undertale. Because like characters like Napstablook, Burger Pants, and obviously Gaster had some sort of moments and interactions that seemed like something more was supposed to be going on, but we just didn't really get that in Undertale. Obviously, I think like Onion Sun's main purpose now is to be the sort of cave diver. Burger Pants seems to be having a bigger role, you know, with Icy everywhere and all the like. And Gaster, I mean, Gaster's like the creator of Deltarune basically, so he's gonna have a huge role. But for the main cast of Deltarune, like Undyne, Toriel, Asgore, Sans, Papyrus, Alphys, and Metaton, I don't think that they'll have a huge role like how they did in Undertale, and will probably be like side characters.
Okay, so I was kind of right and kind of wrong on this one, alright? So, yeah, Undertale characters generally don't have a lot of importance in Deltarune, and we kind of see that in chapters 3 and 4. Toriel didn't have a speaking role even though she was in the Dark World. Undyne appeared like at the end and then immediately left the Dark World because she got captured by the Knight. So, does that really even count as her having a significant role or not? Probably not. And also, like Gerson didn't really have that big of a role in Undertale, but now Gerson is a secret boss in Deltarune, a much bigger role than what he had in Undertale. And on top of that, he's like a mentor figure for Susie. So yeah, big role. However, the one character that I thought didn't have a big role, but it seems like might be having a bigger role than what we thought, is Asgore. Because I know there's some stuff in the Holiday House with him having a black shard and stuff. So that definitely implies a bigger role in the story, which I'm hyped to see.
This question comes from Mario Memer. Do you act like you do off camera, like you do on camera? Or do you have a completely different personality after stream? Yuck, 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 yuck. The fact that my first like sort of thing to record after reading that question was to laugh like Wario, I think tells a lot about my personality. You know, let me get a little parasocial with you. Obviously, my personality and stuff is exaggerated for the content, for the entertainment, you know? But I genuinely like do sort of act a little bit like this off camera. You gotta have like a smidge of just like sort of insanity in order to be a YouTuber, you know, because you're talking to yourself a lot, and if you don't already do that like off camera, then you're probably gonna have a hard time doing it on camera. I'm just a dude, all right? I never want like anybody to think that I'm like more than like just a normal guy, because I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy, guys. I'm a guy. I'm just an average Joe. Question comes from Pablo Blow. What is your favorite Toby Fox song? It definitely, I think, has to be Big Shot. I know that maybe that's a little controversial just because there's so many good songs, and obviously like Hopes and Dreams has the big impact of the ending of Undertale and all that stuff, and Megalovania is like obviously the meme song that has transcended like the game itself. But to me, Big Shot has to be my favorite. You know, it's the big theme of my favorite character that Toby Fox has made. There's so many like motifs and aspects that go into the song that just make it interesting to me. Like the whole like Spampton like lyrics was so fun to sort of like try to figure out what it meant, and you can sort of like interpret it as your own thing of what it means. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff going into it, and I just think it works so well together, and it's just like, it's fun. Bam, 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 bam. What can I say? I'm just a Spampton lover.
I wanted to include some other honorable mentions for favorite songs. I think Big Shot still takes it for me, but some honorable mentions. Chapter 3 favorite song, Black Knife. Chapter 4 favorite song, Hammer of Justice. I know that's kind of bland, but Hammer of Justice. Second Sanctuary is very, very close though. And non-video game Toby Fox song that he's made, I would have to say is honestly Penumbrum Phantasm. I think it has to be that. Either that or Appa Toby Style. That song just goes really hard too.
Egg, the man who gives you eggs, like some kind of Eggman. I will take the egg, thank you. Hopefully I will not lose it. This question comes from Gorka. Is this the first channel you've had? No. And I said this before in another one, but no, this is not the first channel I've had. I've been doing this way longer than FakeyMcFake. I would say a majority of my life has been making some sort of YouTube content. There you go. There you go, baby. That's why my editing's so good, because I've literally done it my entire life. What do you think Toby Fox's fever dream was? We know it has to be something vague enough to still be the ending, despite Deltarune having a whole other game implemented into it, Undertale. But that it was also an idea so potent that it's been on Toby Fox's mind for 14 years. I think it's specifically the idea that the player and the main characters are separate. I think Toby had a dream where he was playing a game and it ended with the characters taking back control. And this question's from Max Riley. I like that interpretation, Max. I haven't heard that one before, but Toby Fox's fever dream is hard to sort of give an answer to because it's a dream and it's a fever dream, so like it could literally be anything. But the way I've always thought about it is that it has some relation to the angel, and that it was like this being, this figure that the characters had to fight. And like I said, Toby's dream is hard to predict, but let me throw my hat into the ring, okay? So I think this whole dream was like this big being, this being that maybe like shapes and like morphs and has this like figure that is like so otherworldly that it can only be something that can be found in a dream, and that the characters have to go up against it, and this sort of angel and being does something that sort of like has something to do with video games. I don't know, sort of rewrites the world of the game itself, or traps the player, or player is the angel, or something like that. Something weird. I don't know. That's the best that I got. There you go.
Future Fakey, let me throw my hat into the ring, because now that we got more content with Deltarune, it's changed a little bit, but mostly the same. So I think what Toby saw in his dream, one of the things has to be the knight. As I was saying earlier, this like being that like morphs and like shapes and doesn't really have a one struck form is what the knight is. So that feels very dreamlike. And then also just the thing in chapter 4 where apparently the angel is seen in one of the murals, but we don't get to see it. And it's sort of hinting that maybe we are the angel, and especially with other player angel imagery in chapter 4 especially, it just sort of hints towards that. So I could see a thing where Toby sort of dreamed up that the final boss of the game was himself, was the player. Like, that could be something, I don't know.
All right, so next question. And that question was from so to answer your question, I would have to say How many theories do you think there'll be on the first week after Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 releases? And this is from Gustavo MS from your Deltarune Chapter 1 stream chat. Well, thank you, Gustavo, for watching the streams and for leaving a question. But anyway, how many theories do I think there'll be? A bajillion? Like, do I even need to like give an exact number? There's gonna be so many. Like, every single Deltarune theory and channel that has popped up in between chapters 1 and 2 will be making a new theory, analysis, discussion, all that jazz after the week of 3 and 4, including me. So there you go. It's gonna be like every single Deltarune channel on the planet Earth will be making a theory. All right, so future Fakey here. All right, I said in the goodbye to the Deltarune demo video that we're probably not gonna be getting as many Deltarune theories in the post chapters 3 and 4 era compared to the post chapter 2 era. And yeah, obviously now we know that we're gonna have a shorter amount of time in comparison to the post chapter 2 era because Deltarune's coming out in 2026 for chapter 5, which is crazy. Like, oh my god. So we only got a year for theories. So we're probably not gonna be getting the same amount of theories, but the thing that I'll eat my words on is that the variety of theories, we still got it. All right, it's almost been a month since Deltarune's chapters 3 and 4 came out, and I've seen so many theories just come out talking about varying subjects within Deltarune already, and some theories from channels that haven't even like made videos, or at least videos that got popular in the post chapter 2 era, like, but now they're getting popular in the post chapter 3-4 era, which is crazy. I love it. And yeah, in that video I never wanted Deltarune theories to sort of die out and to lose its creativity and variety, and I'm glad that we're still able to have that in the post chapters 3 and 4 era. This comes from an anonymous user, but thoughts on Rouse? I think Rouse is a cool character. I like him, he's a fluffy boy, but he definitely is hiding something, and we're definitely gotta find out what that is. And I also think Rouse will have some interesting interaction with Chris in the future, from just going on T-Theory alone. So I think Rouse might not approve of Chris making the Dark Fountains, and eventually we have to learn what Rouse was saying to Chris, sort of off screen. And of course, not to mention the implications of Rouse possibly leaving the party. I think Rouse will be definitely an interesting character, and will sort of give more insight into why he knows so much of what he knows. Huge Rouse W in terms of lore drop for chapters 3 and 4. So I just want to say, yeah, Rouse, it's crazy. Rouse seemingly knows everything that's gonna happen within the game itself, all the future events, everything, and even stuff like Chris making a Dark Fountain and most likely Susie making a Dark Fountain seems to have been predicted in the prophecy, and Rouse doesn't really care because he already knew that was gonna happen anyway. But his character has just gotten so much good stuff added to it. Like, now we know that Rouse is sort of developing like his own desires, his own feelings. We had a little bit of that in chapter 1 and 2, but now it's sort of cemented in chapter 3 and 4, and Rouse's whole struggle with not being real but wanting to still be friends with Chris and Susie and have an honest connection, as well as him just knowing everything that has to happen within the story, knowing what lies ahead and all the damage and tragedies that it'll bring to not only himself but also the people closest to him. It's just amazing. And I love in chapter 3 where he finally gets the chance to play on the game, and he's struggling to actually make his own choices, but he ends up like getting really invested into it. And even when you go off to the secret room, he plays a little RPG, and he just sort of like has fun just walking around and just sort of interacting with stuff because he's never had the opportunity to really make his own choices before. And so having the ability to do that is, mind-blowing to him. Yeah, I really like Rouse, and I hope we get more of what he has to offer. And he has to have like a tie to Gaster. Like, it's like almost like confirmed. I'm not gonna say it is confirmed because nothing is ever confirmed when it comes to Gaster, but like it's very heavily implied. How would he know everything that's gonna happen if Gaster, the literal like game developer of Deltarune, didn't tell him everything? Next question. Fakey, I just have one dire question. Do you have the cheese touch? From a certain wound. No. But you should definitely shake my hand. For no other purposes. Just just a nice way of saying hello. This question comes from MM. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream? That's a tricky one. That is a tricky one. I am a vanilla guy. I do like me some vanilla. But when I'm not eating vanilla, I think I might have to go with like cotton candy flavor. It's like some sort of flavor like that. It's has like a multicolored thing to it. I don't know like what the official flavor is, but it's like a cotton candy flavor, obviously, and cookie dough is also definitely up there for me as well. This question comes from Butter. Do you think we will be able to beat the Chapter 3 secret boss, or do you think they will be impossible for now? So I know we got from Sham that we know that we need the Shadow Mantle in order to beat the next secret boss. And we also got a thing for the new Spamton sweepstakes that's like, no blank, no crystal. And I guess I want to give my original thought of when I first heard that from Sham is I thought that they were talking about like the Chapter 4 secret boss, because I don't think Sham would know that Chris would create a dark fountain unless they did, which is I guess true now. But obviously that's not really the case anymore, because we got the Spamton sweepstakes thing that like is in the Chapter 3 room, and you go into it and it has like the no crystal thing. But I do kind of believe that Rules is the one that stole the Shadow Mantle from Sham. I feel like it just sort of makes sense. You know, Rules is kind of like as a mischief sort of guy and goes around stealing all these like important items like the Thrash Machine and possibly the Shadow Mantle now. So, and Rules is in our pocket. So I don't think the secret boss will be like impossible, and I think we'll have to like find Rules in some way in Chapter 3 in order to sort of get the Shadow Mantle back. And I know that like some people like believe that it'll be a whole meta narrative thing where maybe you have to go back into a future chapter and then go back to Chapter 3 to have like this one item from a future chapter back in time so you can get the Shadow Mantle or something. And it's like, I like that theory. I think that's a cool concept as like a video game idea, but I don't know if Toby would do that, because I feel like most casual fans wouldn't be able to do that, and they might just miss a secret boss when Toby might not want to like have them miss that, because like secret bosses are a sort of big part of Deltarune now. So
all right, so yeah, the Shadow Mantle was obtainable in Chapter 3, and the secret boss of Chapter 3 is able to be beaten with the Shadow Mantle. It's not impossible, but it does seem like that on the surface. I will say the Knight is a very hard fight. You would think it's an unwinnable fight, but you can win it. You don't even need the Shadow Mantle. You can do it without it if you're like gamer enough. But yeah, obviously Rules doesn't have the Shadow Mantle. Rules was part of the throuple with El Nina and La Nino. But honestly, I don't know if I'll go into this in a video or not, but like, what is the Shadow Mantle's like physical item supposed to be in the light world? Like, it makes me think that either Chris or the Knight had something to do with the disappearance of the Shadow Mantle instead of like a Darkner. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I got so far.
This question comes from Ronan. Do you think perhaps the police officer who turns up to the Dreamer house, or Toriel herself, could receive the same end as Birdly did in the Weird Route? Let me think about that for a minute. I definitely do see a possibility of the Weird Route sort of being in Chapter 3. Obviously, it's not going to involve Noelle, but with the new Spamton sweepstakes pages and the importance and hidden of the Chapter 3 sort of number on the Chapter 5 page, it sort of implies that there will be a Chapter 3 Weird Route that will probably be very different from the Chapter 2 one, but will still have an effect on the story. However, I don't think it will be like a Birdly Snowgrave thing. I just don't really see that like immediately after Chapter 2. I really don't see that. I feel like it would be some sort of like sequence break thing, but it's not gonna be like you kill someone, you know? I don't know. But the thing with like Birdly, it has to be a character that's like not super important to like Hometown, and one that people can sort of dismiss for a reasonable amount of time. Like, you know, Birdly is a forgotten bluebird in the lore of Deltarune, so it sort of makes sense that people wouldn't be like searching for him if he's not turning up for like a couple of days. But like with like Toriel, Asgore's definitely gonna be like worried about that. Undyne, a missing police officer, people are gonna go crazy about that. Same with like Napstablook. If Napstablook's in that, if a missing police officer is like just gone, people are definitely gonna like notice that and be like actively searching. So that's why I don't think we'll get like another death in Chapter 3. I think it'll be like a big sequence break, and maybe that has something to do with the Shadow Mantle and that theory that people are talking about with having to go to a future chapter and coming back or whatever. But That's my opinion on that so far.
All right, so yeah, chapter 3's like quote unquote weird route wasn't really part of the weird route, but it was his own unique route called like the sword route. I'm pretty sure it's what it's called. And yeah, it did have something to do with the Shadow Mantle. Obviously not the whole like going to a future chapter coming back, but it did involve the Shadow Mantle. And yeah, it was part of like a sequence break. I mean, you don't need to do the sword route in order to break the sequence by defeating the knight, but you know, the Shadow Mantle is definitely like a key part of that. And yeah, so it was part of a sequence break. But Undyne still went missing and might die, question mark, sacrifice next week? No.
So this question comes from Albie. What is your most unpopular opinion? Like unpopular in all the word meaning. Albie, you really want to know like my unpopular opinion, like the opinion that nobody has? All right, let me show you.
What's poppin', audience? We're live. We're here live. So this is the place that I usually work, and allow me to show you my most unpopular opinion ever. There it is. So this game, Looney Tunes Acme Arsenal, I think this game is kind of good. All right. Yeah, it has like guns and you shoot, and it's just so fun. And I used to play as a kid a lot, and yeah, it's a fun game. Also, honorable mention, I don't know how many people have played this, but Fossil Fighters, peak. I think this game is also good, and I played this a lot as a kid too, so it's just fun. It's fun.
So yeah, that like Looney Tunes game, I used to play with my cousins on like the little versus mode that they had. It was fun. I don't think there's like a story mode, but I never like finished that or whatever. But the versus mode, peak. I love that. That was like a fun time. You like collect around, get guns, had all these like various different effects, and you could play as different characters. And we would just like mess around with the guns. It was fun. It was a fun time. And that Fossil Fighters, ooh, I loved dinosaurs as a kid. So that game, peak. You get the fucking dust off fossils, like put them together, and you actually get the fight with the dinosaurs. Peak. All right, so this is like very similar to the question I got before, but it gets its own category because it adds a little twist to it. So this is from Jasmine. Who are your top 5 favorite and top 5 least favorite Deltarune characters? All right, so we'll start with the top 5 Deltarune characters. Number 1, of course, Spamption, for reasons already mentioned. Number 2, Chris, also for reasons already mentioned. And number 3, Noelle, also for reasons I also mentioned. Number 4, Gaster. Is that kind of weird to put that up there so high? Gaster being one of my favorite characters. I think Gaster just has a lot of cool lore around him and is just so intriguing as a character, and I want to learn more about him. And number 5, I'd probably put Rouse. You know, Rouse has some intriguing aspects to him, and I definitely want to learn more about him, and I think what he's got going on so far is really good. Obviously, that was just like a short little ranking. I think all the main characters that we have for Deltarune so far are really good, like Susie, Birdly. I like Birdly. I don't know why people don't like Birdly. I think he's funny. Rules Card. I love Rules Card. Lancer. I also love Lancer. All those are definitely like right next to, like, when we go from like number 2 to number 3, it's like if we had like a point system, it'd be like by 1 or 2 points. You know what I mean? Like they're not that far off from each other. Like even number 5 Rouse is probably like a point off from like Susie and like Rules and Lancer and all that stuff. So
all right, future Fakey. Yeah, the rankings has changed a lot actually since 3 and 4 has come out. I think Spampton is still number 1, obviously for reasons already mentioned, and Spampton, my goat, is still relevant even in the most like recent of chapters. So let's go. Honestly, I think number 2 has to now go to Susie. You know, she just sort of like carried the chapters of 3 and 4 for me, at least character wise. Like we got to see so much more interactions with her and got to learn more about like her backstory and a little bit more of her past, and that just really resonated with me as a person. And yeah, I mean, if you've seen like the little reactions video I did for chapter 4, yeah, I was a little bit in tears for some of the scenes, and tragedy she's about to fall on Susie, and I really don't want that because I just want things to go right for her. Like, she's had a rough life, and I just want her to be able to, like, live happily, but nah, the prophecy. Number 3, I think we still got Chris. Chris is still such an interesting character for me, and now that we know a little bit more of their dynamic with the whole story going forward, you know, they seem to be working with a weird entity on the phone, and that weird entity seems to know about which dark fountains are going to be popping up next, and maybe Chris was working with them, and that's the whole reason why they made the chapter 3 dark fountain. But it doesn't really seem like they're totally on board with this person, because, you know, they leave the phone at the end of chapter 4, even though the phone's like, you promise, Chris. And they sort of just like discard the soul and just sort of like drink some chocolate milk while like basically like looking very sad, while this like phone person is essentially like talking about like, you need to follow the plan, Chris, soul, guitar, or whatever. And Chris is like, I'm just gonna drink my chalky milk and play the piano because goddamn, I need a motherfucking break. And that's real. Number 4, I think we got Tenna. Tenna is so awesome. Like, all of Tenna's themes, like music wise, I love to death. Tenna as a character is also very similar to Spamton. I seem to just have a love for washed up sort of entertainers that have very long noses, that wear like sort of suits, that try to not be discarded but are discarded and are desperate to get to the life that they once had. So yeah, Tenna, I love Tenna, and I like was so shocked that the knight like freaking killed him, but he's not actually dead. So my goat is still alive. Number 5, I don't know if this might be a little controversial take or not, but, and this might be like recency bias right now, but the knight might be number 5. I think so. The knight is just so cool, and like it literally blew my mind. Like, implemented a core memory into my life of first encountering the knight and being like so shocked and seeing just how otherworldly it is and how it is just this creature that doesn't speak. You know, I'm sorry for using this word again, but it just has aura, all right? I'm a sucker for that. When you just have a genuinely like peak character design and the music and atmosphere just sort of reflects it, and you're like, damn, wait, what the hell? What the shit is going on? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's what I love. And the knight just sort of captures that perfectly. So those are the new like top 5 best favorite characters. Now, top 5 least favorite Deltarune characters. Ooh, this is a tough one. But number 1 least favorite, obviously, like I said before, has to be the Sweet Cap'n and Cakes. If we're cheating, I'd put like number 1 Cap'n or whatever, and number 2 KK, and 3 like whatever. But we're not cheating. I'm just gonna put them all as like one character. I just want to say, for these least favorite characters, I don't like hate any of them. I just like I guess they're most uninteresting in the Deltarune world so far, but it doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just they're not too appealing to me. But anyway, so number 2, we got Mr. Society. I don't know. Mr. Society's like kind of like a dickhead. He just fucking like disappears and like is all high and mighty or whatever. Number 3, maybe like that worm, chapter 1, and now in Castletown. You know, not really a cool mood to be eating Rousey's like clothes, bro. But okay, the worm. Number 4, like I don't know, like the pawn men. I don't know, they're just kind of there. I don't know what they're supposed to say. Like, why are the pawn men darkeners, but like we don't get like king chess piece darkener? Like, what the fuck? And then lastly, I guess like my like character that is in the downward of the character list, that is like not as much as like number 1, would be like, I don't know, like the animals in the cages. I don't know, like I said, there's really like no like characters I actively hate. Like, even like Sweet Cap'n and KK, like I still think like they're kind of good. It's just like, you know, they're just uninterested and sort of like blowed up the OST. But like for these other guys, I don't know, they're just like there. They don't do too much to me, but like they're not bad. I don't know. So there you go. There's the list. So this question comes from definitely not that Yexi guy. I don't know how to say that. But anyway, the question is, what is your favorite persona in Persona 5 Royale? I don't know. I really like Arsene. I think Arsene is such a cool design for Persona.
Persona. I know that might seem like a very basic answer, but I really like Arsene. I also like Akechi's Persona. And if you know, you know. So, all right, next question comes from Aura Common. Your take on Oberon Smog. So this video probably comes out after I did the ranking video with Luke, and we did talk about Oberon Smog and all that stuff. Oberon Smog, I do like it. I think it's fun, and I think it's a really cool concept. Like an idea of this sort of in-between of a lightener and a darkener, based upon like the lightener's little dust being on an object. Really cool idea, and I do think we might see something like that in Deltarune. Now, do I think it's Oberon Smog and that Oberon Smog will be the knight? No, I don't really think so. I feel like the knight has to be someone in hometown and probably be someone that we've already seen before and not this like entirely new character that we haven't seen anything about yet. But hey, you know, theories are just supposed to be fun and supposed to like be thought-provoking and bring up new concepts, and that's definitely what Oberon Smog does. So I do think it's still a good theory. It's just that I don't personally believe it will happen. But I think the theory itself is really fun and thought-provoking. And to go on a little tangent, I feel like people give Jaru a little too much of like flack for his theories, when I feel like Jaru's theories are really good. They're really thought-provoking and bring up new concepts and ideas that haven't been talked about too much in the Deltarune and Undertale community. So that's why I feel like his theories are good and all in just some good fun. Yeah, so it looks like Oberon was kind of overright, because we got Gerson, a hybrid between a lightener and a darkener, because it's a darkener born off of a lightener's dust sprinkled onto an object, and it's Gerson. Like, Jaru predicted that it would look like Gerson, that it'd be from Gerson's dust, and that's what we got. So, although it's not fully right that, you know, Oberon's the knight and whatever, but that whole concept and idea, Jaru hit it right on the head, got it exactly right. So, Jaru, round of applause and pat on the back. Good job, Jaru. So this question comes from Nylea, and I like how you add a little pronunciation tidbit for me, because I appreciate that, because I feel like I butchered a lot of these names so far. But anyway, the question is, hi, I'm very happy your channel is getting more recognition. I hope to see you grow more. For my question, what is your ultimate crack theory? Could be something small or your current theory for the overall game. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that you like my channel getting more recognition and that you're excited to see me grow more. I appreciate that. So, and also thank you for the question as well. But for my crack theory, I have two that I want to bring up. One is that Starwalker is the angel. This is something that actually Ace from the previous question giver gave before in a comment, and we talked about it a little bit on stream. Starwalker being the angel is like one of the best crack theories out there, in my opinion now, because like it just makes a lot of sense. You know, the angel has like the save point thing. Starwalker looks like the save point in Undertale, you know, and that's my crack theory. I think it's like so fun, you know. And hey, Starwalker like doesn't turn the stone in the weird route, so Starwalker's holding back its power, you know. Just wait until it shows the full power of the angel. Oh yeah, and not to mention like the way to get Starwalker is you have to beat like this weird bird thing with like angel like wings. But another crack theory that I absolutely love that we came up with on stream was Deltarune cake theory, which is basically that essentially in Deltarune you will need to make a cake that will be the ultimate thing that will help solve all of Deltarune, because you know you get the eggs from the Eggman. Sans has a grocery shop that is associated with milk and seems to play relevance in the characters' lives, like Asgore going to the store with Toriel and Chris and Susie being there. And there's a lot of cake imagery, like Top Chef making a cake that gets stronger and stronger after every chapter, and all the imageries of sweets and delectable treats like donuts and cookies all point to the fact that we will have to assemble a cake that will be the key to solving Deltarune and maybe achieving the angel heaven banishing that we've been told about. But that is my two crack theories that I love the most. And hey, cake theory will be canon. We will make that cake that will solve everything. We will make the cake. Future Fakey, cake theory still going strong in Tenna's first physical challenge. What are the ingredients that are falling from the sky that Chris needs to catch? Why, it's ingredients used to bake a cake. In chapter 4 as well, Rousei gets to finally eat a piece of cake that he made, and it enhances his character and his growth as a person, implying
that cakes have a powerful effect on those that eat it within the Deltarune world. All I'm saying, cake theory is gonna be real. Trust.
All right, so this question comes from Shikuren. Why is your profile picture Gru? I don't know. Guru's funny. Have you seen my first video on the channel? Guru's funny.
This question comes from an anonymous user. Do you think we're ever gonna get any direct interactions with Gaster in Deltarune? I would say so. I mean, Gaster's being set up to be like this huge entity that sort of controls the game of Deltarune as a whole. And it seems Gaster's real purpose is in Deltarune, and Undertale was more sort of a setup for his character. So yeah, I think we definitely have to meet Gaster, and especially now that the knight has like the holes in the hands and the significance of the bunker and the smile.ogg and all tying into the main plot of Deltarune, Gaster just sort of has to be prevalent, has to be shown. And I don't think Gaster will look at all like the Mystery Man sprite. I really don't see that happening. You know, Toby had people make a tarot card set for him, showcasing each of the different Undertale characters as different tarot cards, and the one for Gaster was cut and scrapped, mostly because I think that's not what Gaster going to be looking like. So it was replaced by Gerson, which Gerson is the GOAT. Yeah, I don't think Gaster's going to be looking like the Mystery Man. It's going to be entirely different. And I think we have to get Gaster in the bunker. If we go into the bunker, we got to see Gaster. I think it just has to be a given. So yeah, I think we'll finally be able to meet Gaster in Deltarune. This question comes from Astrid. Who is your favorite Deltarune character and why? Let me tell you, Astrid, alright? I'm not lumping this in with the other questions that asked me for my favorite Deltarune character, because I just want to say, Spamton is my GOAT, my one and only GOAT. All right, Spamton continues to win, continues to be relevant within the story. That's a win. Spamton in the actual game doesn't really win, I'm not gonna lie, but Spamton will be my one and forever GOAT. And I went into a lot of detail. I dedicated a whole section to Spamton in that really long Deltarune video that blew up my channel. So if you want a reason why I think Spamton is so interesting, rewatch that section. Or if you have already watched it, then you know why.
So this question is from the one and only Chunglung. Hey Chunglung, what's going on? So what's your question? When is face reveal? When is the face reveal? Chunglung and all the audience, don't you already know? My face has been here the entire time. I've been hinting at it in most videos that I've made. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Anyway, those are all the questions that will be answered in this Q&A video. I appreciate everyone sending in questions, and just reading them over for the first time was like, put the biggest smile on my face like ever. So it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate everyone who submitted a comment and reached out. So you guys are amazing. And I'll keep saying it till the end of time, till the end of the channel, till whatever, but you guys are awesome. And the amount of milestones that we got just from like the past couple of months has been crazy, like actually crazy, and I can't thank you guys enough. It wouldn't have been possible without each and every one of you, and I can't wait to see what happens next with the channel and Deltarune and all the stuff that we got going on. So it's definitely gonna be fun, so stick around if you want to see more. And hey, maybe we'll do another Q&A in the future. I don't know, you know, I did not expect for this to be the first subscriber sort of special thingy going on, but hey, it's what happens, you know. And hopefully we'll get like a bigger video in the future for a bigger milestone, like 10K. Wouldn't that be crazy? 10K? That'd be actually crazy. I think I would actually like lose my mind. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Adios and bye-bye.